you guys are doing that, I just want to do something. This is a fake rose.
It's a fake rose.
Everybody see it? All right, so I just want to bring it over here. And here's what I need you guys to do. Just take a look at the rose. Touch it. Kind of smell it if you want or whatever. And then pass it on to the next person. You take a little longer.
What?
See, that's good. All right. So take it, touch it, mess with it, and then pass it on to the next person, okay? So, here we go. As you guys are doing that, I got a question for you, and I want some participation. You can help me with it, all right? So you guys ready for this? All right, how many of you guys have ever deeply desired or cared about something? Anybody ever deeply desired or cared about something? Oh, okay, good. All right, now, here's your second question. Can anybody share with me something that they deeply desired or cared about? Why don't we? Oh, okay. Thought it was a question. I was like, I don't even know. Why don't we? Okay, good.
My cat.
Your cat?
And your pets.
What?
Your pets.
Oh, just pets in general?
Friendships.
Friendships?
I was gonna say friends.
Oh. And you guys are sitting next to each other. That's sweet.
Youth pastor. Hey.
Youth pastor? Wow.
That's what made me
That-
tear up.
That's very nice. All right. Anybody else got anything?
We like you, Pastor Josh.
Yeah, say it loud.
Pastor Mike.
Pastor
Pastor
Mike.
Mike, all right. Wow. Like, they're really kissing up there.
Pastor
Way to go.
Ian.
Thank you, guys. All right. Anybody love croissants? Yeah. We had to have some of those croissants tonight. That was pretty spectacular. All right. So here's the thing. Some of you, like, you guys are a little bit younger, but some of you are getting to the age where you can drive, or some of you are at the point where you are driving now. And how many of you guys, at one point in your life, you're like, man, I would like to drive, or at least have a car, or I would care about that. Like, you desire that. Anybody want something like that? Okay. Now, how many of you guys would say, yeah, I desire, I would love it if I could just have a good friendship?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How many of you guys would say boyfriend or girlfriend? At one point in my life, I would like it if I could have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, somebody to care about, somebody that are like, okay, good. How many of you guys, maybe you're like, maybe my desire would be to be a good student?
Nope.
No hands?
All right, I got like 3 of you, 4 of you. Okay, a little different, 5. All right, good. Now, here's the thing. When we deeply desire for something, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But oftentimes we desire those things in hopes that they can fulfill us or meet some sort of need that we have in our life. We desire it in hopes that it will make us happy. Just eating food. Some of us will desire food, right? But like the hope is that it will fulfill us. It will complete us. It will make us whole for that moment. It will make us happy. And here's the reality. In life, we have many things that we will go after to try to, that we deeply desire, and we're hoping that it'll just fulfill us, even for that moment. And it might fulfill us for those moments, but does it ever fully complete us? Or do we just kind of need more? And we just need a little more? See, here's the reality. All of us know there's kind of this gap in our life. And so there's who we are right now and who we'd like to be. And so we're moving our way towards who we hope to be, who we'd like to be, how we'd like to be complete and fulfilled and whole. And we all know that this gap exists. And as we try to fill that gap, we try to fill it with different things, different desires, different pieces of this world. Like maybe having a boyfriend or girlfriend will make you feel valuable. That if I can just have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, that I can feel valuable. Maybe if you get a new car, then you can feel important. I finally have control over my own life and my own destiny. I can go where I want to go. I can be who I want to be. I don't have to, I can just be free. Right? You can feel important on that. Maybe it's something like this. If you're a good student, or if you dress well, it will help you to feel more important. Now, on the surface, we might say, all right, those things, yeah, they maybe don't make us feel valuable. They don't make us important. They don't make us feel complete and whole. But oftentimes, we get sucked into the trap of looking to those things to form who we are. And we all know that they don't quite fill the gap from being where we are, broken and just kind of dealing with stuff in life, wishing that we could be made whole. And yet over here, we want to be complete. And those things just don't seem to fulfill the gap. And there's nothing wrong with a lot of those things. Boyfriend, girlfriend, car, taking care of how you look. But at the same time, those things should determine your value, your worth, your significance, your identity of who you are. And as we've been in this series talking about how God has made us, we've been specifically focusing in on the idea that God has made us right from the beginning. And He's designed us, and even in the area of sex and sexuality, that God has had a design in that ultimately He wants us to listen to Him and follow. Now think about our culture. Our culture, last time we talked, we would say that sex and sexuality, it's just not that big deal. Everybody does it. It's just something that's part of it. But they'll also send a second message in saying that sex and sexuality is everything. Like how you feel, how you desire, that is who you are. That your desires determine who you are. And if we're honest, we might even have strong desires towards certain things. It might not even just be in the realm of sexuality. It might just be like, I deeply desire food. I deeply desire friendship. I deeply desire something else that somebody has, and if I can just get that, it'll make me complete and whole. And oftentimes we look to those things to fill our purpose, our identity, to give us value. But here's the question I want you guys to think about. We'll put it up on the screen. Should your identity be found in your desires? Should your identity be found in your desires? Before you just immediately say yes or no, think about it in your own life. Do I look to just what I desire to form who I am, how I even view myself, how I look at myself? And should I be limited to how I view myself just on what I desire and hopefully those things that I can find to complete who I am? If you have your Bibles, we're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. And as I talked about this whole idea of the gap between what you feel and who you are and what you want to be, the Bible actually affirms that gap. See, we all know that we just feel like, all right, what I'm dealing with, it's incomplete, it's broken, like there's just a mess. And no matter how good life is or even how bad life is, we all kind of equally know there's this gap from where we are to who we desire to be. And the Bible affirms this gap. It in essence says that we live in a fallen world, a broken world, and we experience that brokenness in our life. And creation actually, in the book of Romans, Paul actually shares that creation groans, longing to be complete. You ever feel like that? Like who you want to be and where you are right now. It's just like internally you're just groaning. The Bible actually affirms that that's even part of the human experience and what we deal with day in and day out. And we try to do everything we can to fulfill this gap. But as God starts to share with us, God's going to say some hard things and some tough things that maybe we would desire certain things. And God's like, no, I don't want you to desire that, or I don't want you to go after that. I don't want these things to define who you are. And most of the time we hear God saying no, and we're just like, oh man, like, God, like I'm just trying to fill this gap. I'm just trying to complete a little bit of who I am. And now you're saying no, like it's like you're against me. And a phrase that I used before, maybe it's new for some of you, it's this: when God says no, He's also saying, don't hurt yourself. That the things that He's saying no to, He's not just saying no because, you know, like I'm just up in heaven, I'm looking down, I'm like, oh, there's some fun. Gotta stop that because I'm God. He's actually saying, no, I don't want you to do that because I don't want you to hurt yourself. This isn't how I designed you. This is how I made you. And so often we can get into this idea that we try to fill up the gap in our life with many of the things that we're going to read even in verses 9 and 10 of 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to read for you. And as you read this, I just want you to think about it, even in your own life. Are some of these things, some of the things that are getting pulled in my life to where it's shaping even who I am? And I look to some of these things for who I am. It says here, do you not know that wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God? It's a pretty strong statement, isn't it? Wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God. How many of you are wrongdoers? You've done something wrong in your life. Okay, so this is pretty condemning because all of us now can fit into this category. And he goes on, he says, do not be deceived. It says, neither the sexually immoral, nor the idolaters, nor the adulterers, nor men who have sex with men, nor thieves, nor greedy, nor drunkards, nor slanderers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Now that's not an exclusive list. But this is just some of the things that the people in the city of Corinth, as Paul, who's one of the followers of Jesus, he's writing to them, trying to share with them a little bit of God's heart and who they are. He's sharing, hey guys, these things that are pulling you, these things that are forming who you are, that you're looking to try to complete you, these things won't get you closer to God, and these things won't form who you are. These things don't give you the value that you maybe look to think to. The desires that we would long for in some of these things. And oftentimes we will identify the hurtful desires in the hopes of being healed. We will identify with what God says is hurtful to us. But the reason why we're doing it is we're just trying to be made whole. And so we will identify with some of these things on this list. But all of you kind of know this. There's great promise in these things. But they deliver little. It promises so much. You know, if I could just give myself over to these desires, like these desires that I have, like they're even coming from within me. This is part of what I'm dealing with who I would even say that I am. And maybe it's lust. Maybe it's pornography. Maybe it's having sex with someone to keep them around, to keep them from leaving, or to make you feel good. Using another person in hopes that the promise there that, all right, this is just what I need for the moment to fulfill me. It promises so much, and yet it delivers so little. Maybe even for some of you, you're hearing all this stuff that we've been talking about, and you're like, all right, so I get the picture that God says to wait till marriage, so I'll wait till marriage, and then once I get married, then, I get to do whatever I want, and it's just about me getting fulfilled and all this. And for some of you, you're like, why on earth are you even talking about this tonight? This is creepy. But even in that, it takes the idea that all right, if I can just have my desires fulfilled in sexuality, then God will start to complete me through that. And it misses the whole point. That if my identity and how I even view myself around sexuality, that God says these things actually separate me from you, and I don't want you to be part of that. I don't want you to look to that because they promise so much and yet they deliver so little, and it separates me from you. And it won't actually make you complete. See, you know this to be true. Just even think about your phones. How many of you have a phone? Okay, many of you have phones. How many of you would desire a phone? Who does not have a phone? All right, so we got everybody in here. It's covered, right? If you get a phone, it's like, all right, finally I'm connected to the world. I'm complete and made whole. And then how long until that phone becomes old or the newer model comes out or it just doesn't, and it's just like, oh my goodness, this is worthless, right? And we might hold on to it dearly because this is what our life is surrounded by. This is a piece of who we are. And yet, does it satisfy? Maybe for a moment, but does it keep satisfying? Or do you got to keep finding the new YouTube video in hopes that it can make you laugh just a little more? Or do you have to find a new friend that you can talk to that maybe completes you just a little bit more, and you just need more and more and more and more? See, the truth is with all of these things that were on that list, it doesn't even have to just do with sexuality. There's so many other things on that list that we want them to help us to be complete. And yet Proverbs 14, verse 12, it says this: there's a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. That these things, like, if I can just get this, it'll help me. And yet in the end, it leads to death. And so we center our lives around these desires. We center our lives around the things in these two verses, hoping that they'll just fill the gap, hoping that they'll bring us completeness, but in reality they separate us from God. And if my desires then aren't everything, if even the desires of some of the things on this list, if that's not what completes me, then what does? What does complete me? What helps me to be made whole? Verse 11, we'll put it up on the screen and read it for you. It says this, and that is what some of you were. You were those things. That was your identity. That was who you are. You sought after them to complete you. But you were washed. You were sanctified. You were justified in the name of Jesus Christ and by the Spirit of our God. In other words, God brings identity and healing beyond our desires. He says, I need to bring something to you that's outside of your desires, to bring you the identity that you so crave, to fill the gap that you're longing to fill, to help you. Because I don't want you to actually settle for less. I want to give you something that's even greater than your desires. I want to give you something that will actually last. Because here's the reality. We all know this. We desire something one day, and then the next day, do we desire it at the same level? And yet sometimes we have to pour more and more energy into it. And we know that's not going to deliver, but we've centered so much around it that we fear if I step away from it, I'm not going to be made whole. But this verse says, but God. But God enters in. And Jesus comes and he understands the gap. He's lived in the gap himself. And he comes and he dies. And he rises again and he brings restoration to fill this gap. See, God wants to transform even how you view yourself. Go back to that verse if you can, guys. As he's talking about it, you look at the words that he uses. He says, you were washed. You were sanctified, or you were set apart. You were justified, or you were made right. You know what God actually wants to give you as part of who you are? I got a list of 3 things coming off of this verse. You can go to the next slide. This is what it says. He gives us a greater value. He says you're washed. You've been made clean. He says you've been sanctified. You've been set apart and made my child. He gives you a greater identity. And he makes us right with God. Who's got that rose? Is that right here? Can I see that?
He has it. Don't eat it, man.
I'm going to wrap up with this and then give you a couple of tips on it. I was watching a video of a guy talking about someone who used the rose as an illustration. He's talking about sex and sexuality, and he's saying, all right, he used a real rose, and he said, here's what I want you to do. I'm just going to pass this around the room at the beginning of the message. And then he went on to just kind of share a whole bunch of stuff about sex, sexuality. And when he finished, he got the rose back up on the stage, and this isn't a real rose, but it was, the rose that he had was tattered, because it just touched so many hands. It was just basically broken. And he looks at it and he goes, this is what your life is like. And you know, when you go against what God says and we start to do against what God says, it actually starts to damage you and it starts to break you. And you become less of who you even wanted to be. And so getting involved with other people, it actually starts to damage you, and it starts to scar you. And he holds the rose up, all tattered, broken, and torn. And he says, who would want this rose? And no one raises their hand. And he said, who would want this rose? The place goes silent. And he says, and that's why you should listen to God, because no one wants something broken like that. And he walks off stage. Can I tell you, when he said, who would want this rose? My heart broke. Because in the verses that we just read, guess who wants the rose? Jesus. See, here's the reality. Whether we've messed up, whether we've been broken, whether we've gone after our desires and just hope they would fulfill us, we're all messed up. And we all have broken pieces of roses on our lives. And we sit there and we try to make it better. We'll like put a little tape on it. We're like, all right, God, see, I'm a little bit better, right? And we try, and it's like, all right, but that didn't really stick well, and that's not really good. And we kind of know deep down, we can't fix ourselves on this. And we view ourselves like this, broken rose. And yet God says, I love you enough that I sent Jesus to die for this broken rose. And not so you can just stay broken, but so that I can start to wash you. I can start to set you apart. I can cleanse you. And see, whether it's dealing with sexuality, or whether it's dealing with stealing or lying or cheating or whatever, we're all that broken rose. And the point of the good news of Jesus is that he's come for broken roses so that they don't have to look inside of themselves to try to fix themselves. So they don't have to look inside of themselves to find identity. So they don't have to just hope and desire after things to hope that they can complete them. He's saying, no, I want the rose. I want to take it. And so that the rose can be mine. And so when you look at yourself, when you see yourself, you no longer just see broken and spotted and torn. You see someone who's taking care of it and washing it and making it new. And so God does not want us to just fulfill ourselves with our desires. Not because, it's going to make you unclean and dirty and unwhole and I can't be around that. No. He wants us to see that he deeply desires us as his kids. And if we are followers of Jesus, that he will start to restore us. He will make us bloom again. And so as we've talked about sex and sexuality, it's funny, this whole lesson, while we've talked about it, it's not actually about having sex or not having sex. It's not about lusting or not lusting. It's not even about whatever desires that you have, going after it or not going after it. You know what it's about? It's about Jesus filling that gap with what he did on the cross. And that he wants to make you whole. And so he doesn't want you to settle for anything less than that, because you were made for more than your desires. You were made for more than that. I don't want you to settle for less. I don't want you to look for your identity elsewhere. You were made for a relationship with God. And God ultimately has a plan for you, just like he has a plan for sex and sexuality. And he doesn't want you to settle for less, because he values you so much higher and greater. And so if we were to step into this and we're saying, all right, Jesus, I trust you on this, what would that look like? What would it look like in our daily lives? Well, 4 quick things and then we'll let you go off into your groups. Here's number 1. Talk about it. A good place to start is actually being honest. I desire certain things and it's tough. And maybe it's even desire straight down to, you know what? There are things that I know God says in his word that are wrong, and yet deeply down, I desire that. Being honest with someone and talking about it. Church should be a place where we can actually have conversations about it, and where you know that it's a safe place to talk. And so maybe talk with your leader, talk with a good friend, and say, I'm dealing with this. I'm struggling with it. Talk about it. Here's the second thing. Practice saying no to things that aren't good for you. You know there's certain things that aren't good for you. That God says no, and the reason why He's saying no is because I don't want you to hurt yourself. And maybe that's a different perspective from where you come from. Maybe you think, no, this is going to completely, and today you're hearing, maybe even for the first time, God's saying, wait, this is going to harm me? Are you kidding me? This is what my whole life centers around. But God says, all right, listen, practice start saying no to certain things that aren't good for you. It doesn't just have to deal with the avenue of sex. It could be other things too, like, you know what? I spend too much time on my phone. And that's not good for me, and so I'm going to say no. And the more you say no to temptation, the more it actually helps in tougher moments to where this is what I deeply desire and I just can't get rid of it. Here's the third thing. Say yeah, but. Yeah, but. Now you're like, wait, what on earth does that mean? It's a statement to where you're starting to acknowledge certain things like, yes, you know what? Yeah, I really desire this. I just, like, I have urges inside of me that I just can't, I feel like I can't control. Yes, I have that. Acknowledging it is super helpful. And then say, but. Yeah, I so desperately want to do this. I'm just going to read one here for you. Yeah, I have these urges, but God wants the best for me. And so He created me with these urges to be used in marriage. Because He actually wants what's best for me on this. Here's the last one. Decide ahead of time what you're saying no to. Most of the time, particularly in sexual behavior, it's not planned. It's not like, hey, got it on the calendar, 3 weeks from now, I'm going to look at porn on the computer. Like, scheduled right there. My parents are looped in on it too, so they're like, can leave me some free space on the computer. It doesn't happen like that, does it? It just kind of happens in the moment. And so here's the thing. If you learn to say no, there's certain things I'm just going to say no ahead of time. There's certain places I'm just going to avoid. Because I know if I get into those spots, it's going to be tough. But later on in this book, it actually says that God provides a way out of the temptation when we turn and we trust Him on it. And so maybe avoid bad situations. Learning that our desires, that God doesn't want us to settle for less. That you were made in God's image. And I pray that even tonight, that God would give you the faith to believe and to see that you were made for something more. That you are far more valuable than you even think you are. And that you can trust God with even your deepest and darkest and most secret desires in your life. Because He already sees it. He sees the broken rose. And He says, that's the rose I want. Let's pray and then we'll head off to groups. God, I thank You for Your word and how much You care for us. And I pray that You would open our eyes to see that when You say no, that what You're also saying is I don't want you to hurt yourself. And God, that takes a lot of trust and a lot of faith because we're so wired and we're told by so many around us, if you just kind of get in, if you just go to these things, that it'll solve it and make us whole. And yet, God, You don't want us to settle for less. You want to actually give us more. More life. More grace. And You want us to center our identity around You because You give us greater value, a greater purpose. That You actually make us right with God. So Lord, help us to realize that we were not made to live for our desires. We were made to live in a relationship with You. And that our identity of who we are can come from that. Because You desperately love us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, go ahead and swim.